welcome to Weather Geeks. We're here live at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting in New Orleans. We've got a little audience gathering. I expect a little more by the end of the day, and they are gathered because we are here talking about what it's like to be a local television meteorologist. And I am joined by two colleagues today. First up, we have legendary meteorologist, and he's a friend of mine as well, Bob Ryan, 30-plus years in the business in Boston.
Long-time friend
Washington, D.C., a stop at Today Show.
Yep.
I mean, you've done it all, but you also are recently being honored here at the AMS as the first broadcaster to get our highest award, the honorary member. What's that like?
Well, it was a complete surprise when you look at the honorary members, people like Smagorinsky, Dave Atlas, who just left us, Joanne Simpson, Vern Sumi, the giants of our science. Right. So, my goodness, I looked at that, and I will tell it later. I sent Sandy McDonald a note. I said, I want a recount.
He wants a recount. No. Yeah, Bob just continues to pioneer many of the things we take for granted now in meteorology, things like the observation networks that TV stations have, the national meteorologist concept itself, broadcast websites. It's all has your fingerprints all over it. So, I mean, how did you get into wanting to do this and then taking these things a step forward in your career?
Well, it started, actually, I began as cloud physics as a researcher, and UHF station was starting a news program, so I called them up and said, would you like a meteorologist to do the weather? And back then, late 20s, it was in a lot of bright red hair, and who knows why. Right. But then I tapped some of my coworkers that were researchers. I gave them rain gauges, and I said, I'm going to call you every night for so it started Weather Watchers back in around 70. And then when we got into Washington and established the school network that you were...
Four Winds Network back in the day.
Came in and talked to the teachers. And then colleague Dave Jones, who's been really at the forefront too, we had a proposal to NASA to bring in video and new NASA images to broadcasting as a way of informing the public. So that started WeatherNet 4, which was 1995, one of the first weather sites on the internet, of all things.
Absolutely, which we now take for granted. Now, you mentioned something about, do you want a meteorologist? I've got a little provocative question for you, but, we do that here on Weather Geeks.
Oh, good.
Do you think you need to be a meteorologist, have a degree in meteorology to do on-air broadcasts?
I think you have to be, first of all, know your subject.
Okay.
So if that takes a degree and you really, really know the basics, fine. And if you are somebody, for instance, a James Spann, who may not have had his bachelor's and master's in meteorology, but
one of the best in our field.
He's a communicator non-parallel.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. So I think going forward, more and more, it's important to be a terrific communicator and know and be able to go across that thing into the person sitting there. What decision do I make, especially when it's critical weather? So that whole, I've often said, having a forecast perfect, but then a bad decision, we failed. It's a continuum.
Now talk about some of the challenges you faced sort of during the peak of your career versus some of the challenges TV meteorologists face today.
Well, it was before as Twitter and Facebook and all of the social media was coming along, so the primary way people got weather information was watching local news. And having that one-on-one conversation every night and being able to produce and put together, how do I want to tell this story? That was very, very exciting, and I got the freedom to do it.
Now, I mean, I talk to young meteorologists. I direct a program at the University of Georgia, and we have people going into the field, but I see some people getting out now. They're saying that there's a lot more responsibility. You got the social media, you got to monitor the website. Do you see this as a problem?
I see it as if once it becomes you're on so much that you feel like an automatron or a robot without really being able to think through and 2-minute or 1 minute boom, 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 boom. So, and yeah, I can see where that for people that love the weather and then love being able to communicate it is very frustrating. And it's a challenge in the future.
Now, what would you, and I mean, again, you were pioneering a lot of things. What would you say is the secret to your own personal success? Because again, you name the names. You're considered the dean of the broadcast meteorologist.
I think the only thing is that people say, you are so enthusiastic. You love the weather. And I love the weather. I mean, I grew up loving snowstorms.
Exactly.
Don't tell everybody that.
That's right.
But that, if you don't have that enthusiasm, And I would, the concentration when I was doing my thing, nothing else. I was just focused on doing what I did, and I love doing what I did.
Now, did you face anything like we're seeing now with the social media virologists, where you got competing information out there from people that aren't necessarily the main stakeholder?
Well, it would be from the other stations.
Yeah. So that was your competition. But at least those folks maybe had some background, or.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know, back then it was interesting. One of the things that we always concentrated on so much is if there's a storm, how much snow will fall? Let me get the total correct. That was, and we did some of these online surveys and we found out people are much more concerned about the sequence of events. Where are the rain snow line? And so we created a timeline for a storm, and that. You know, again, you think, oh, I've got to get the forecast right. But again, if I don't help people make a decision and communicate effectively, I failed.
Bob, what's your thought on communicating uncertainty? You know, you talk to the public directly, and you're a trusted voice in Washington and the other markets you were in. What are your thoughts on communicating uncertainty and how we do it, and how did you convey it?
We always included the POTS, and then also for different events, if we're facing a severe event tomorrow, we show a risk of the high, moderate, and low. Right. And a lot of this, some of this came back as feedback through being able to have our own website and asking polls, taking polls. And one of the first people that I had helping me go out and physically ask people questions was Jason Saminow.
Ah, yes, Capital Weather Game.
And Capital Weather Game. Yeah. And you know, but you learn so much, and it's a challenge now to get that instantaneous feedback on if you've got an idea. Do you like this graphic? Do you not like this graphic? And so forth and so on.
10 seconds or less. If you could change one thing about the broadcast meteorology world today, if you had a magic wand, what would it be?
Have more time for the principal forecast, and more time for the communicator to really spend time with the audience and getting them understanding.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the weather is a valuable part of a local broadcast, and when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about some of the challenges of the broadcast meteorologist. But first, our Geek of the Week.
Eric Fisher, no way, is this week's Geek of the Week. Eric is chief meteorologist at WBZ-TV CBS in Boston. And his favorite type of weather is something that Boston has seen plenty of in the past few winters, major winter storms. Good deal there. All right, congratulations to Eric Fisher, our Geek of the Week.
Weekend in Play brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. See car insurance in a whole new light.
You both have a perfect driving record.
Perfect.
No tickets, no accidents.
That is until one of you clips a food truck, ruining your perfect record.
Yeah.
Now, you would think your insurance company would cut you some slack, right?
No. Your insurance rates go through the roof. Your perfect record doesn't get you anything.
Anything.
Perfect.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. See car insurance in a whole new light. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Listen up. I'm here to get the lady of the house back on her feet and give her the strength and energy to stay healthy. Who's with me?
Yay! The complete balanced nutrition of great tasting Ensure with 9 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. Ensure. Take life in.
All we need to sell Strongbow Hard Cider is ice. Oh, and an award for best tasting hard cider. You're in our shot.
No, I'm not.
Strongbow.
Where can you satisfy your craving for a delicious 100% Alaskan cod meal? Right here at Long John Silver's. Enjoy our tasty 2-piece hand-battered Alaskan cod basket, hand-dipped in our classic batter, now for just $5.99. Because at Long John Silver's, you deserve more.
Incredible bladder protection now comes with an incredible double your money back guarantee. Always Discreet is for bladder leaks, and it's drier than toys. Try it, love it, or get double your money back. Always Discreet.
When the going gets tough, the tough keep pulling. Stop! Whoa,
whoa! All new episodes of Highway Through Hell, Sunday nights at 10 on the Weather Channel.
Yeah!
million hidden under there.
Oh, my God! I am the Blue!
All new episodes of Prospectors, Sunday nights at 9 on the Weather Channel.
Moved into this? Make it look like this. Let's check out our options. Let's put our ideas to work and step into a new favorite room. Let's do this. Buy vanities in-store and online today starting at just $139. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
We brought you here today to get your honest opinion about this new car. To keep things unbiased, we removed all the logos.
Feels like a BMW. Reminds me a little bit of an Audi.
So this car supports Apple CarPlay.
Siri, open maps. She gets me.
It also has teen driver technology. It even mutes the radio until the seatbelts are buckled.
I'm very curious what it is.
This is the 2016 Chevy Malibu.
And it sells for?
It starts at $22,500.
What? Oh, wow.
I mean, all this technology.
That's a game changer.
Don't let a cracked windshield ruin your plans. Trust SafeLight. With SafeLight's exclusive On My Way text, you'll know exactly when we'll be there, giving you more time for what matters most.
SafeLight Repair, SafeLight Replace.
Quiet! Mom has a headache.
Had a headache, but now I don't. Excedrin is fast.
In fact, for some, relief starts in just 15 minutes. Excedrin, now available in gel tabs.
And we are back at the American Meteorological Society. Oh, we got some live audience here. That's a little bit different. And I am joined by Maureen McCann, and it's the News Channel 13 in Orlando. Is that right? I hope I got that right. And Maureen McCann is a rising star in the field of meteorology, is also a new position within the AMS as well, Professional Affairs Commissioner. But I want to talk to you about the current situation in TV meteorology. First of all, how did you become a TV meteorologist?
I'm one of those people who was just hardwired that way when I was born. It was just always what I wanted to do.
Right.
So every teacher that's ever had me, they knew that I wanted to be a meteorologist.
Right.
The story I tell at school visits, and people have heard this before, is the biggest reason is because with my family at home, we used to watch the news every night having dinner. 6 o'clock, news was on, no exception. My friends could watch whatever they wanted while they had dinner. We always watched the news, and it was one particular station. And when I was of age to pick up the phone and call that meteorologist and tell them that I wanted to...
Sounds similar to my story.
Yeah. Weather was always my favorite part, and I wasn't shy. I picked up the phone and called him, and eventually, his name is Bruce Schwegler, Channel 4 in Boston, and he invited me into the studio, and that had a really big impact on me.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, because you've been in the business a while, I mean, what are the biggest changes that you've seen in your career?
So I've been in broadcasting since I graduated college, which has been over a decade now. I think the biggest thing is just how we apply for jobs.
Is that right?
Because
what do you mean?
When I was graduating school, I made a VHS tape of my resume reel.
VHS, I don't know if the audience knows what that is. We'll talk about it later.
Can't find anywhere to play them anywhere. There's no VCRs around. I made a resume tape on a VHS tape and had to put them in envelopes and mail them around the country.
Right.
And now students can just make a link and have news directors look at their application materials that way.
From your perspective, what's the biggest challenge you face
today as a broadcast meteorologist? You know, I think Bob kind of alluded to this because there's so much that we want to share within our newscasts, and weather's allotted only a little bit of time. Fortunately, where I work at News 13 Orlando, we do weather on the ones, and I get to do a lot of weather, which is what I love about my job, and we get to go into long form and do continuous coverage when severe weather warrants or threatening weather warrants, so we don't have to worry about preempting anything but our own coverage, so we can stay with the coverage and let our viewers know.
Is there a particularly memorable, in any market you've been in, any particularly memorable event that you were covering that really just sticks out in your mind?
Like a severe weather event?
Yeah, or any weather event in general.
You know, when I was in Austin, I got to do a lot of severe weather, and that's just one of the markets I worked in. I've moved around the country.
And you move around in this field. Some of the people may not know this, but you started a market and moved, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually a pretty good example of that because I started small and worked my way up. Some people don't have to go through all those steps, and after college, they get into a great market, and that's awesome. But when I was in Austin, we had some severe weather rolling through, and it was one of those situations where I thought I had to go take cover. I didn't, but it was really, really close because of gusty winds, some circulation really close to the station. And once it all moved through, we walked out and there was damage all surrounding our building, News 8 Austin, which is what it was called then. So
no, and we've got about 30 seconds. But what about the perspective of gender as a female scientist? I know you have a degree from Cornell. Are there any particular challenges or things you want to say to young students coming up, particularly young female?
I think just stick with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get frustrating, and especially students, the math can get frustrating. Just stick with it.
It's your broccoli, though. You got to have that broccoli. QG theory, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think just sticking with it and persevering, and especially for people that want to go into broadcast, you know, getting through the smaller markets, you get so much experience there that will take you further.
Right. And when we come back on Weather Geeks, we're going to talk with Bob, Ryan, and Maureen about the challenges as we talk about the future of broadcast meteorology. Next on Weather Geeks. You don't want to miss this.
Lowe's presents How to Know She's the One.
You were the one for me.
And it comes with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee.
I won't be needing that.
Now get up to 25% off select major appliances $396 or more at Lowe's.
Your brain is an amazing thing. But as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
I am never getting married.
We're never having kids.
You're never moving to the suburbs. We're never having another kid.
I'm pregnant.
I'm never letting go.
For all the nevers in life, State Farm is there.
Don't miss Founders Days at Pep Boys. Buy 2 Rain-X Latitude water repellency wiper blades and get $10 off instantly. And when you buy 3 select tires, you get the 4th free instantly. Trust the boys to get you there.
Folks, you can't make this stuff up. 4 bandits chose a Prius as their getaway car.
Bravo, Niner. In pursuit of a Toyota Prius. Over.
How hard is it to catch a Prius? Over.
This thing is actually pretty fast. Over.
Very funny.
Oh, look, a farmer's market. We should get some flowers for the car.
Toyota, let's go places.
Those moments where we're dealing with life-threatening situations, we have a charge. We have a responsibility.
You have purpose. You have to get these people out of harm's way.
I'm telling people on TV the exact same thing that I would tell my family members.
And that's really what we're trying to do here, is to make sure people stay as safe as they can and save lives.
Cleansing with your hands may not clear out clogged pores. You need a deep pore clean, but cleansing devices can be so expensive. Now, here's something new from Proactive to help decongest your pores and save you money. Our new dual-speed deep cleansing brush. Today, it's yours free when you order Proactive.
I love the brush. I feel everything getting into every little nook and cranny.
Now with the whole new bacteria-resistant silicone head, rows of soft silicone give you awesome cleansing power. Feel your skin breathe again.
Your skin is just so fresh and soft after. It's just like heaven.
Over 20 million people have trusted Proactive to clear their breakouts. Call today to get it for just $19.95. And the new brush is yours free.
$19.95 to get started? Throw in the brush? That's amazing.
Act fast and we'll add a second brush head free. Call before supplies run out. 1-800-916-6979. That's 1-800-916-6979.
When the going gets tough, the tough keep pulling.
All new episodes of Highway Through Hell, Sunday nights at 10 on the Weather Channel. Yeah!
We know you have a morning routine. We have one too. 7 days a week, AMHQ is right here and weather ready.
Let me get you ready for the day weather-wise.
We've got a lot going on this morning.
Definitely see what kind of pattern we've had.
So start your morning routine with Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, Jan Carfagna, and the rest of AMHQ.
It is a team here at the Weather Channel, and an awesome team at that.
Let's get right to what you want, and that is the weather.
AMHQ, every morning starting at 5 on the Weather Channel.
are back at the AMS meeting in New Orleans. Yeah, we got a crowd out here. We're here with two legendary meteorologists and emerging legends. And Bob, you've got your cell phone out.
I do.
And you know, we're in the age of the cell phone meteorologist. And so what did you want to say about this?
The emoji,
yeah.
Those little symbols, even for hourly or for the next 7 days.
Yeah.
Boy, it's information,
right,
but it's not necessarily the best way of making a decision.
Right. Yeah. And we saw that Miami baseball team, they were using the apps and it got rained on, and they have a cover on their stadium. Go figure. But Maureen, what do you say to the people that say, well, you know, we do have our cell phones, we've got social media, we don't even need the local television meteorologist anymore? What would you say to that?
Well, I think there is so much value in having a human meteorologist telling you the forecast, explaining it, talking about uncertainties too. You know, the app may say 30% chance, but, and it's based on a zip code, it's based on a model. You need a human to interpret that model and be able to explain it in a way that people can understand.
A great point. Bob, do you think people appreciate the challenge and difficulty of meteorology as a science, but then as a communicator of this complex science?
I think the forecasting part is still magic.
Yeah.
I often say that if we were doing what we do now back in the 15th century, we would have been burned at the stake as witches and warlocks.
Yeah. We saw some of that with geologists in Europe recently.
Saying tomorrow at 2 o'clock there will be a shower over. But I think the local person, that's the local news ratings continue to decrease. But the reason people will always tune into local news is to have a Maureen help them make a decision. So it's a one-to-one personal communication, and that's the advantage of having a meteorologist in the studio or out in the field or whatever, and not relying completely on these things to, especially in critical weather. We're always going to need trained, good communicators.
Yeah, and I always say watch the evolving forward. People really consume the information from people they trust, but how do we get over this notion that the consumer, they want a forecast for how much rain is going to fall in the left corner of their backyard by the dog bowl?
Right.
So how do we get past that and get to a point of making people understand that there are limits to our predictability and what it can tell them?
And that's where social media comes in, because you can maybe explain a little more, engage with your viewers there, and have a two-way discussion if they have questions or wanting to know a specific part of the coverage area that may be more favored for getting rain or snow than others.
That's a great point. Now, Bob, in your career...
And I think people's expectations, as our skill goes, will still stay ahead of the expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
We had an accurate 3-day forecast in 5, 7, and now they want it for a month.
We're victims of our own success to some degree.
Yeah.
Now, in your career over the years, Bob, did you ever have any people that get angry at you for cutting into the baseball game or their soap opera?
Well, we don't have as many cut-ins, but during tornado, now everybody will be up, and people do get if no tornado, then they say, why did you have to do that? But I got hostile mail, but not a lot.
How about you, Maureen?
Oh yeah, I always use that as an example because, you know, I've done the affiliate side of things, working at different network affiliates in other cities, and now I'm back to a 24-hour cable station in Central Florida.
Right.
And that's the advantage to what we do, as I was saying earlier, just doing the long-form forecast. But yes, when I've worked at affiliates, you cover up just that small fraction of the bottom of the screen. People can't see a score. They can't see Wheel of Fortune, then you're going to hear from them.
Yeah, exactly. So in this last minute or so, just briefly, 20 seconds from each of you, what do you want to see in the broadcast meteorology field local going forward? 20 seconds each.
I want to see more time on the forecast and discussing the forecast, and then I think eventually we're going to see the virtual world as a forecasting tool. You will see your house or your neighborhood and see what the future is.
Yeah, that'll
be very exciting.
Yeah, and the Weather Channel's starting to dabble a little bit with some of that as well. What about you?
Well, I think you can't discount the apps and the weather that people get in their phone, but that's their cue to watch us on TV. So that's why we still need to be there. If they're in an area that's under tornado warning and they're going to be alerted, that's their cue to tune in.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thank you both for joining us here on Weather Geeks, and we're here every Sunday at noon. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. We'll see you next week on Weather Geeks. Thanks all for coming out, guys.